when we look at intelligence, how do we measure it? How do we decide someone's intelligence? There's always a test called IQ test, the quotient test. I think we've all known people that supposedly have a high IQ test, but sometimes in reality, real life, they seem to struggle. It's called boiling an egg, even to boil an egg. So, yeah, my question to you, Steve, is how do you think we can successfully measure intelligence? Is it testing? Is it measuring how people perform in life? Observing? Or any other way? So, over to you, Steve.
So if you ask a fox, if you look at a fox, and it's got 1,001 ways to catch the chicken.
Yes.
But if you ask it a maths question, it's not going to answer you.
Yes.
So there is a difference between cunning,
yeah,
and intellect, I suppose.
Yeah.
So a person could be intellectual. It could be, that's why we go to school.
Yeah.
To make sure that we can capture information, store information into our little noggins,
Mm-hmm.
and then at a later date reproduce these informations to prove that we've stored them once again in our little brains at that time at school. The day-to-day life that we have is down to experience, and that is more my view of intelligence, of day-to-day. You say that people can't boil an egg. Well, I can. And not only once have I had to, but I learned how to do it. I know how to do it. I know how long to leave the water for. And I know, I know the heat to put on underneath the egg. And we all do that. Or most of us can do that. Without even thinking these days.
Yes.
Even thinking. If we struggled with the old boiling an egg routine, then really we've had a very sheltered life and probably a very old mother.
Yeah, a very exhausted one as well. Yeah, I'm going to ask this. I mean, so much now when we're looking life, and we like us, we got we use a podcast. We use technology to express our opinions and everything else. Would you say you and I are of reasonable intelligence, above average, below average, or very high?
If you're talking about podcasts and computers, then I'm afraid I'm not all that bright, because the computer, albeit when the computers were released for sale, when compact computers were the size of a briefcase, I worked in the industry.
Yeah.
But I didn't work on the technical side and on the programming side. It was all on the sales side and replacing parts of broken computers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
However, how to program a computer and how to even downloading apps these days, I find a challenge sometimes, and I have to call my son to help me out, And I don't know if it's because I'm impatient. It could be that I'm impatient, and that's why I just get frustrated, because if the thing doesn't do what I want it to do, even though I've probably told it something to do which it doesn't do.
Yeah. Yeah. Understand.
I just get frustrated, and I just want to throw the phone down.
Well, yeah. I mean,
who was a DJ that said that? I got so angry I threw the phone down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. When I got a new phone myself, I could quite easily sit there and set it up. I just gave it to my daughter. It's done in 10 minutes. Then she loves all the technology. They do, the youngsters. I mean, these youngsters, they're people known, right, yeah, people known as digital natives. There's an expression now, digital natives, digital immigrants. You're possibly what could be termed a digital immigrant. I'm somewhere in between. When we first got computers, the 8-bit machines, the computers, my father bought one because I had to know about it. I used to program it in BASIC, beginners or symbolic instruction code. Yeah. So we learned the ideas of BASIC. And at college, I learned, yeah, what the CPU is, what the memory is, basically the guts of the computer, how the architecture works, which is quite useful today when I'm teaching. I don't have the interest to actually open up a computer and build my own systems or anything anymore. Possibly in the UK I would. In Brazil, that can be quite expensive. I've looked into it. It's a, yeah, so that's one more form of intelligence. I mean, you and I have what we could call applied intelligence. We don't go around shouting about our degrees or anything else. We have to prove us. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, unlike somebody else we know who goes around shouting at every opportunity. Yeah, it is a, so we have experience of life, university of life, as it were. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, maybe we can't sit down and do complete analysis of things, although I've had to do in the past. I got to a level in my career where I was toe to toe with graduates, sometimes wondering how they got a degree. I'll be quite honest sometimes. Yeah. If you paid for that degree, I think you better ask for your money back. But it's a, yeah, I mean, I had to pay for my own college. I got through it. I had to do quite tests. They were technical tests. It was a technical level, technician level, as opposed to a high level. Although, yeah, and probably like yourself, when you do things, we read a lot. And I think that's something that can help you increase your intellectual level.
Yeah,
is reading.
if you coming back, and I'm not going to dwell on this, on the phone aspect of the telephone aspect of the smartphone. Here in Brazil, there's a certain level of society that find it difficult to string a sentence together.
Yes.
We've got the same in the UK.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody to say, that, I'm being sort of classist but some of these people who can hardly string a couple of words together are really, really savvy when it comes to programming things on the smartphone. So but once they get into the WhatsApp, it's difficult to understand what they're saying because the Portuguese is so bad.
Yeah.
And I say that as a foreigner,
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, a little bit like a sign writer here in Brazil. If you ask him to write his name on a piece of paper, his letters are going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
But if you ask him, those sign writers that paint on the walls.
Yes. Yeah.
If you ask him to copy a trademark or copy a font, he'll do it to the T. That is amazing to me, because the intelligence he will have to make the measurements, to make the design, that there is, to me, is magic. It's not intelligence, it's magic.
Well, yeah, I mean, what he can do is in his mind, he's put a grid. It's a sort of thing, proportion, and it's something you're taught in art. I was taught this at school in art. You see the grid proportion, that you imagine all grid, or you have a grid and then you can scale it up. Yeah, and they're natural artists as well. They have people could be taught art, but there are some people who have a natural ability with it.
These guys, well, I don't see going to art classes, let's put it that way.
No, they wouldn't.
It's something that's innate in them, and they've got this gift, and they do. I've looked closely at the walls and things like that, and they do measure it out. It's all measured out.
Yeah,
it's all measured out. It's amazing to me.
I mean, yeah, they do things. They've probably learned off someone else and can do it and can see it. And these people are very good at observing in life in general. They walk down the street, they notice everything that maybe other people don't notice.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll sometimes put things in their art. Well, they're just observant. Their mind isn't full of nonsense. They can tell you a lot of different things.
However, they don't really have a successful, what we would class as a successful life. They just get along, you know.
Well,
And that to me, it's another sort of enigma,
yeah,
that somebody that can be intelligent in one point is not so much. You could argue that their priorities
yeah,
are just to middle along, as long as they can relax and sit down when they want to relax and sit
mm,
down, and they're not obliged to do this sort of 40 hours a week,
yeah,
you know, and they, once they get a good payment, you know, they can relax for a couple of weeks and then
yeah,
go looking out for the next job to get
yeah.
the next good payment, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, like you and I, we still get good payment and then try and save that money and do it. Yeah, and keep going. Certainly in my current field, self-employed as I am, that's
Mm.
what we have to do. Even if you've got 80% busy, you want to be 90% busy because you just never know.
Which is another form of intelligence,
Yeah,
because you know, it's a bit like people who don't know how to have make a budget.
mm,
You know, they don't know how to control their money, which only time will explain that. You can't spend more than you get. You can't
well,
spend more money. People try to,
yeah,
and that's where debt comes into it, and that's what gives them all the worries,
well,
because they're
yeah.
not
I
very
mean,
proud of that aspect of it.
I've often thought about it, especially in today's society with credit cards and everything.
Mm.
I think the people who are actually not too bright are the people actually administrating, giving out these credit cards and awarding credit. Um, there used to be an expression: in order to first secure a loan, you must first prove you don't actually require it.
Don't need money. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which isn't quite, yeah. In other words, yeah, you have that ability. If I give somebody on a low income a high credit limit, they're going to crash, and it doesn't matter how much interest I charge them; they're not going to pay it.
Tell tell that
Um,
tell that to the people of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in the US.
yeah,
They
exactly. Yeah,
after the 2008
yeah,
financial crisis.
exactly. Yeah, and this is what I'm getting to. Yeah, again, these people are meant to be very, very intelligent at the top.
Yeah.
I didn't see where they were going to crash everything, which is where I was actually going to go with this. It's
Yeah.
it's yeah, intelligence. You and I, probably at the time, I didn't know you in 2008. I certainly had a father who was screaming at things in the paper and everything. Stop this now! Or 2 years before, my father predicted it.
Yeah.
I told him it was his fault for not writing to his local MP and telling him. Yeah, he'd left the industry just before, but not long before. But he had retired. So okay, he was reasonably sheltered from it in so many ways, not in totally. But yeah, it's again, yeah, I'm seeing more and more when I'm talking about intellect, intelligence. Overall, now, I'd say the population of the world is far more intelligent globally than it's ever been at any point in the past. You could argue societies, Egyptian societies, Mayan society, Roman society. Yeah, depending what
But
you.
they were a lot more intelligent than what we are these days. And I think in terms of ABCs, one, two, threes, I think we're getting dumber because of these sort of things here,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
we use a calculator now, and if you ask somebody to do some mental arithmetic, they're going to be stumped.
mm,
Especially if you start asking them about division and long division. You
yeah.
know,
Well,
it's been such a long time since they haven't used it. And the Mayans and the all these the ancient Egyptians, how they built their constructions,
mm,
precision, precision, sir.
yeah, well, yeah. They knew. I mean, yeah. I argued this when my daughter was first starting school, and I went to an evening, they had a parents' evening where they're explaining how they teach maths. And I've had some engineering maths instruction myself, yeah? And we're sitting at a table with other parents, and I was the only one that could actually see the modern technique of teaching, the arches and everything else. But then they're saying there's no need to write everything down when you're doing a sum. And I would argue, when you're first learning, certainly there's every reason to write it down. Every reason.
You have to show your workings out.
Yeah.
You have to show the logic of it.
Yeah.
That's what they teach you at school, the logic.
Yeah, but they tell you don't have to write everything down. I say you do, especially beginning. When in engineering, you certainly have to write down absolutely everything. Well, that's why I was always taught. Yeah, because if there is a mistake, people can see it, or you can see it yourself. So I always disagreed with this, and I think that's taken away from intelligent logic. Okay, and then they're saying, well, you can use a calculator on certain things. Okay, but a calculator as well, you still have to know effectively what you're doing. I mean, I can go on Google now and I can ask what is 4 divided by 2, and it will tell me. The Google search will tell me. It's so yes, our reliance on these things. I mean, I use a computer. I still write everything. If I'm doing, I still write everything down. It's really incredible. I don't trust these things, or I don't trust myself using these things because they're tools. They're not everything. They're tools. There's something in my hand. Okay. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll do the sum in my head, then I'll check it on the calculator. That's 2 people, two items doing it. Yeah, I've actually found some things, that it doesn't always do. I mean, obviously, I don't do very, very advanced maths anymore. I call advanced maths. Obviously, I don't do the engineering anymore or anything else, but I'm good for that. But I can talk about it in lessons. Actually, nobody does now, to be quite honest, because even now, you go into a design office, they've got it's all. They literally have it that the even CAD, some of the CAD programs can do things.
Yep.
I mean, one of the strangest things I ever saw in my life was when some people I know went to a cabinet to fit equipment in, design and had to install, and they couldn't fit all this equipment across. Strange. Anyway, they went back to the design office and said, well, we can't fit everything in. I've got to do an on-site amendment. Well, you can't do that. Well, you either fit all the equipment in, or I don't, And it turns out that they've got a trainee on board who had these blocks, literally blocks, and this is all they saw, blocks. Never been on site, never understood anything, just blocks. And decided in order to fit them across, just draw them smaller. Make them smaller. So the product engineer, the product installation guy goes also, what? I think he realised when he left the depot, actually, he just wanted to see what was going on. I mean, there could have been 1 or 2 things. Either that there was a bigger cabinet on site that hadn't been picked up on the design, or there's something else. And when he went there, so obviously that was a design change. That showed a lack of intelligence and understanding. I mean, we all make mistakes in life, but I thought that was quite, and that should be picked up. You don't just have a designer working remotely, you have somebody over above them who'd signed off to say it's been checked.
The problem is with that is that in the future generations, as we rely more and more and more on these tools, to put them, you won't have anybody who's capable enough to check. They'll just be scratching their heads, and that's why I think we're getting dumber. Even to write essays, we've got GPT these days.
Yes.
And all you need is a notion. Just a notion. Just ask the chat. You know, how
Well,
how big is a circle, and you've got 1,000 words on how big a circle is.
yeah. Now, as a inverted commas educator, if I sent a student away to do that, my next move would be to ask them questions about the text they allegedly wrote. Yeah. Remotely from them, so they can't see the text.
Yeah, but that's not that isn't the part where intelligence comes into it, Mark, because you know the intelligence part is putting the text on the paper in the first
Yeah.
place. It if I got a 2,000 word essay from GPT and I read it and I knew what the contents were, when the professor asked me about it, I'd be able to tell them. But
Yeah.
it wasn't me as well, wasn't me that used my brain
Yeah.
to put the text on the paper in the first place. And that there is why we're getting dumber.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's why we can't do complicated maths anymore in our heads, long division. And here's me saying that long division is complicated maths when it shouldn't be. You know,
Yeah.
we would when I was at school, you know, that's what we did.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
it's a, yeah, okay, I scraped maths, I'll be quite honest, but I scraped it, which shows that I had intelligence enough to be able to scrape it. Yeah, I wasn't brilliant, still wouldn't
No.
be. I can apply maths, and that's the difference. You can't teach, I mean, my way of doing things, you can't teach me something, I can choose to learn it. Which, you know, is a subject here that's quite prickly about it. But if I'm interested in something or need to know it, I will learn it very, very quickly. If there's something that a bit of a slow burn, not really required, get through life, as you said, yeah, I'm quite happily sit back and let that happen. Why should I acquire knowledge that's of no use to me? But I'm very good at remembering trivia. So
that's going to help you.
Well, it has actually. It's helping me in my current profession.
You need to hope that, you know, one day ITV are going to call you on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you can apply your trivia to good use.
Yeah, I watched programs like that. Yeah, I mean, the one that is still difficult was is University Challenge.
Yeah,
but that's meant to be difficult. But yeah,
the people at university.
Yeah,
who are supposed to be studying and who are supposed to be mid-flow in their studies, so they're at their peak. They are at their peak. Okay. You would think that somebody who goes to university would be a reasonably intelligent person.
You would hope so, yeah.
But they study to be, their vocation in life is not a high rewarding activity. So you get people who study being a doctor, for example, and then they get spat out the other end. They've you know, they're a doctor. They've you know, even been they've even specialized for a couple of years, and that process is like 5 years, and then they say, well, junior doctors don't get paid very much. Well, they must have known that when they went in.
Yeah. Now,
first place, surely.
Well, we always had it, and my father always said it.
Because nobody's that dumb.
Well,
or are they? Or are they?
Well, okay. It's the old thing, as my father used to say, we all used to say it, and I came across it. A graduate is no good to anyone for 2 years until they've proved their mettle. I mean, all a bit of paper is a license to go and prove yourself. Yeah. I've got different bits of paper that says I can do different things. Been told I've proved myself in my latest reincarnation in life. I have a bit of paper that says I've reached a sufficient level to demonstrate I can do that. And I've been told by people that I've proved I can. It's application. You go into an industry, any industry, and you struggle at first because there's a big difference between the theory and the reality. And it's getting down to boiling an egg. People could probably tell you about an egg. They could probably tell you the ideal temperature and everything else. I saw Yeah, changing it. Yeah, but they then have got to learn the whole way the world actually operates. Yeah, and sometimes it's not always theoretical. It is touchy feely. Is this working? Why isn't this working? And then you've got to bring in human factors. And then actually, if you go into research, development, even the medical world, there is financial issues as well, which we learn can be quite a shock when somebody tells you you've got to stop a project because there's no money left. What?
That's just that isn't something. That's a shock. That's something that happens.
You've got done to deal with
it.
But
I'm talking about
before
you even get into the world.
Yeah, okay.
It takes so much time, and you'd think you'd have enough if you've got enough intelligence to pass all the courses and all the
modules,
sure, everything, then surely you'd know that industry, that's what the industry is going to give you in the future. You must know that.
Yeah, but it's short term again versus long term. I mean, to become a doctor, you've got to see it as a bit of a vocation at first. Yeah, it's what you want to do. The same with partly of engineering and teaching to a certain point. Yeah, well, teaching is always a vocation. At first, it's low salary while you're proving yourself. If you're very good, you can make up quite quickly. I mean, a junior doctor, if they can show they are good, reasonable, they're not going to be there for much longer. They're going to make it up quite quickly. Somebody that doesn't put that effort in, was just there thinking it was going to be easy, probably won't. I mean, yes. I mean, this is the whole thing with it, the planning. I mean, if we go with that, nobody would do anything. There's some people that don't want to do anything. Maybe they're intelligent ones, I don't know. But yeah, there is a little bit of personal pride and achievement has to come into it as well. And we get back to your sign writer, your graffiti artist, whatever you want to call them in Brazil, who can do the adverts.
No, not a graffiti artist, please. No, not a graffiti, a sign writer.
A sign writer, yeah. But
you have to distinguish between the two.
Yeah, but they can do that. But they are, somebody just a bit more than a tag, is what I'm saying. They are still a form of art. Graffiti is still a form of art to some, and to me as well, with limitations, depending in context where it is. It's a fulfillment as well. You say they may not want to do anything else. They've found something they enjoy doing. They go there, they do their spraying, they do their own personal opinions or their own expressions. Yeah. Which very few of us.
You're breaking into the realms of art there. And what I was mentioning about the sign writers is not art. It's copying something off a piece of paper and you put it on a wall. Exactly what's on the paper you put on the wall.
So you get
graffiti, you're talking about fine art. And I can talk about fine art because my son's a fine artist. And about interpretation and about different styles and all this. No, I was on about
being able to scale up as well. But they're doing something they reasonably enjoy doing. I mean, as I said, potentially they could go off and do that as well. I mean, okay, they've marked it out, everything like that, but they have some sort of fulfillment out of it. They go there, they do the job, they move on to the next one.
I've never actually spoken to one, so
no, they do it, they move on. Just think about it, they move it, they don't have to speak to anyone, don't have to deal with anything else, they just do their job, get paid, move on to the next gig, as it were, or not, as it may be.
I think if I stopped a sign writer who's putting his sign on the wall, if I stopped him from working and said, "Are you feeling fulfilled doing this?" He'd think that I was trying to cause trouble.
Okay.
He'd throw his pot of paint on. He'd throw his pot of paint all over me.
You know what I'm saying, though. I mean, okay, it could be. I mean, okay. If you saw a really exceptional one, if you could use them, but I mean, who's gonna? I mean, people do get noticed occasionally. These people, even some do end up on being noted on Global or things like that. And they've got their tag at the bottom normally. Who they are and put their number there. Okay. I mean, how many of us can actually honestly say we're totally fulfilled 100% of the time in our work, in our job? Even in the UK, I enjoyed probably 70% of my job. Yeah, probably 70% of the time I was content and happy. Yeah. That leaves 70, 80, 90, 130% of the time that I wasn't. And that was normally dealing with people. I have to be quite honest. The engineering was fun, it was enjoyable. Dealing with everything else around it, not so much. But I had the intelligence to know how to navigate that, how to work my way around it, to stay positive almost. Yeah. Not let that mark the rest of my job. Yeah, sometimes we end up with someone above us who isn't quite as smart as they should be, maybe, or as intelligent. Other times we end up with very, very good, intelligent people. That's the luck of the draw. So going back to it, how do we measure intelligence? We've established that it might not necessarily be by a bit of paper. It may be we look at what they can achieve in life and think that's sharp, that's smart, that's intelligent. Or we just use our own feelings about someone. I don't know. I mean,
you know, let's draw it down to this: the difference between intelligence and being clever. Being clever is the people who can use their hands to create stuff. Yeah. They're very clever at doing that. They may not be able to, the intelligence of them, they may be rather limited.
Yeah.
You know, in intellectually wise. You know, I mean, we can see people mentally challenged, should we say, who can create things and really they were really clever doing that sort of thing. So I think that's what you have to differentiate. Being clever and being intelligent are two different things.
Yeah.
And once you're aware of that, then you'll realize that the person who is above you, like you just your little example there, somebody above you is not all that intelligent. They may not be all that intelligent, but they may be very clever.
Yeah.
What they do. And so that you need to concentrate on, you need to distinguish between intelligence and being clever at what you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.